Hey, good morning everybody. So for the past month or so, I've been riding around on these wheels that were sent over to the channel for review. They're by a company called Superteam. It is a Chinese wheel brand, but there's kind of a lot to unpack here. In this video, all the things I like and dislike about this wheel set, and some more general thoughts about the state of carbon wheel manufacture in 2024. Okay, so for starters, these are the Superteam wheels, S-All Carbon Ultra D28 to 50 disc brake wheel set. That is a mouthful. It's the 50 millimeter deep road wheel that's got carbon spokes. Inner rim width is 21 millimeters, outer width 28 millimeters. The claimed weight of the wheel set per pair is 1,385 grams, which does agree pretty well with what I measured at home. The wheel set does use a ratchet style hub, which all the wheel manufacturers are using now that the DT Swiss patent has expired. This is arguably a better hub design than your traditional Paul style system. It's a little bit simpler, it's more robust, and the parts are all interchangeable. I did confirm with Superteam that you can swap out parts with any of the DT Swiss parts, including if you want a higher ratchet count. So you can get like the 54 tooth ratchets, stick them on here if you really need that higher engagement. These wheels retail for $1,200 US, although they've kind of perpetually been on sale for $1,000 US, which in my opinion is not that much cheaper than, say, like a Hunt or a Logos, which are more well-known brands. But nonetheless, you are getting a deep section wheel, carbon spoke, carbon rim for under $1,000 with the Superteams here. So I've been running these wheels on the Rita Esprit, which I had for demo for a few weeks. I've now got them set up on the Blackheart All-Road. The wheels I've had set up tubeless with Continental GP5000 tubeless tires in 32 millimeter width. Superteam wheels come pre-taped and they include valves like pretty much all wheels do these days. And setup was really easy. You will notice that the wheels have this kind of shark fin design, which, you know, I don't know how I feel about this. These rim designs were originally intended to try and improve aerodynamic efficiency. These things are almost impossible to discern for the average cyclist riding on the road, and I don't believe that Wheeltop have published any kind of, scientific findings from the wind tunnel or anything like that. What I will say is that I just came down Turnbull Canyon road descent, and it was surprisingly windy. Surprisingly, I wasn't being pushed around nearly as much as I would have expected for a 50 millimeter deep wheel. I have no idea if it has anything to do with the wavy shape of the rim, but the ride feel on the descent did feel pretty confident. This wheel set also uses 21 carbon spokes per rim, which being who I am kind of upsets me. This is the first wheel set with carbon spokes that I have tested, and I can't say whether I feel a difference with them or not. I wouldn't say that they accelerate extremely quickly. The Craft wheels and even the Logos wheels that I have, I believe, are a little bit lighter than these wheels, and those definitely feel like they have a little bit more like pep to them. I think these are more designed with aero benefits in mind, but still 1,385 grams for a 50 mil deep wheel, not too bad. Sorry about that, the Insta camera just died on me. As far as the things that I like about these wheels, I like the price point. I like the fact that it uses the star ratchet system, which is quickly becoming the new preferred standard, I think, which is actually a good thing. I think I like the fact that it uses carbon spokes, but then again, I don't know. I can't tell one way or another if it's giving me any kind of benefit. As far as the things that I'm not too fond of, you'll notice that the nipples protrude from the rim a very small amount, so not the typical amount that you would see. They protrude about half the length of a standard spoke nipple, which means that truing could be a little bit finicky, especially if you round out one of those edges on the nipple. And the reason I say that is because these wheels are actually not perfectly straight after about 50-60 miles. There's actually quite wobble laterally. So up and down is fine, but laterally there's probably a couple mils in either direction. I haven't had a chance to sit down and try and straighten these out yet. I'm also kind of afraid because I don't have the highest quality spoke wrenches, and I really don't want to round out that 5 millimeters of protrusion on the nipple. Something else to note that I haven't mentioned yet is the hub design. It uses straight pull spokes, but I'll link you to a video that Peak Torque did recently about straight pull spokes with no redundancy built in, meaning that there's no mechanism to keep the head of the spoke lodged in the hub if you lose tension on a few of the spokes. So what that means is if suddenly you break one or two spokes, now there's less tension in the other spokes, they're more liable to slip out, and you can have some catastrophic failure in that mode. These fall right into that category of not having any kind of redundancy built in, which certainly makes the manufacturing process a lot more streamlined. You just slide the spokes in from the side and you can true them up. I do have to agree with Peak Torque that a simple mechanical cover could eliminate this entirely. It would have almost zero weight penalty, and add almost zero complexity. So something that I think that a lot of companies who are using this current hub design could implement. Who do I think these wheels are for? Well, they're definitely an upgrade from virtually any stock wheel set. So if you've got a new road bike, you're kind of just getting into it and you want to start making some impactful upgrades. Of course, a nice wheel set is always going to make a huge difference. For under $1,000, you're getting a carbon wheel, carbon spoke wheel set with modern standards. Setup is easy. You'll certainly feel a big difference going from like a stock alloy wheel set to the Superteam wheels. Now, if you're willing to put in more time doing your research, you'll probably find that there are other options from bigger companies, including, like I said, Hunt and Logos, but also even Specialized. Roval has some relatively affordable carbon wheels, and so does Zip at this point. So for not much more, maybe a couple $100 more than this $1,000 wheel set, you could get something that's potentially more reputable and more vetted. So just something to consider. You are saving a little bit of money here. But one of the reasons you would typically buy a Chinese wheel set is to save a ton of money, like pay half the cost you would pay for like a Roval wheel set or something like that. Not really the case anymore. I think a lot of consumers are coming around to the idea that most carbon wheels are manufactured in China. So the term quote Chinese wheel set doesn't have as big a negative connotation anymore. So I think a lot of the Chinese companies who are pretty good at manufacturing and have a strong track record are starting to realize that and maybe bumping up their prices to kind of reflect that. Now, as a whole, I think the carbon wheel manufacturing process in 2024 is much more highly refined than it was 15, even 10 years ago. The thing that's probably not as standardized in 2024 is the QC process. And I think what you're paying for in a lot of the more expensive companies really comes down to that attention to detail and the quality control. So far, I've had no issues with these wheels. Of course, the thing with carbon is that it's really tough to tell or predict when a failure is about to occur. But I've been riding these on fairly rough roads, riding on them fairly hard. I've had no issues so far other than the slight side-to-side a wobble that just needs to be trued out. All in all, for under $1,000 US, you're getting deepish section carbon rim, carbon spoke wheel that uses a modern standard, the DT Swift style ratchet hub. Decent quality as far as I can tell so far, and I've had probably 150 miles on these wheels so far, so not a ton. But the only thing that I've come up with so far as a gripe is that lateral side-to-side play. The shark fin arrow. Actually, I don't think the company even calls it an arrow design. They just call it the shark fin design, presumably because there actually hasn't been any aero testing done on this design. It does look unique. I'll give them that. As far as any quantifiable benefit in aero or crosswind performance, I don't know. I just don't know. It's a nice wheel set. If you have any questions about my experience with these wheels so far, just leave them down in the comments. Do my best to get back to as many as possible. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already, I'll see you next time.